Hi everyone, it's Elaine Hamilton. I'd like to discuss the definitions, discernments around enlightenment or non-duality and intuition or other realms. So oftentimes in the spiritual world, we hear teachers or people describing their awakening, and there's a lot of talk about, oh, I had a spiritual awakening. And sometimes when you dive a bit deeper into that, it's not the non-dual awakening that they're talking about. It is the awakening into the realm of intuition. So they have discovered that they are more than the five senses, that there is a spiritual aspect or intuitive aspect. Maybe they're unlocking certain psychic abilities or abilities to intuit other entities, spirit guides, Akashic records, channeling, all this kind of thing is not what the non-dual community would call awakening. It's more like a spiritual exploration and expansion of your intuitive or psychic skills. This is different because the key difference in non-duality is the seeing that you are not separate from anything else. And in fact, the you that you perceive yourself to be is an illusion. So the ego is an illusion. The structure of beliefs, the right, the wrong, the me, the you is all illusion. And then once you've had that awakening, that insight, which is a really difficult insight to describe because for some people, as I've said before in many of my videos, for some people it just blows out a whole bunch of stuff. And then for someone like myself, it's like a oh moment whereby you almost have this aha moment, but it doesn't really blow out that much. But what starts to happen with that insight is a diminishing of interest in the whole spiritual awakening. So it's a very interesting thing. Often, what I've noticed is that people that have had a kind of awakening in the non-dual sense, i.e., that I am not separate from everything that's going on, what happens is less and less interest in following teachers, in discovering more tools around your psychic abilities, and a lot of the spiritual trappings become a lot less interesting. Now, the reason I bring this up is because there's so much confusion in the market. And then what happens is that for many people, when they are trying to develop their spiritual gifts, they kind of mistake it as a getting rid of ego. Now, I came across this lovely quote from Francis Lucille that was like, only the ego tries to get rid of the ego. Brilliant, brilliant, and really true. From the non-dual perspective, there is no problem with the ego. There's no problem with anything. And that can be a very difficult thing to put in place around morality and ethics and right and wrong. It's something that a lot of people, when they first hear this statement, they find very difficult to swallow. But essentially, when you have had the insight of non-dual, i.e., when you wake up to the fact of what you are, there is no space for judgment because everything is equal. On a molecular level, on a subatomic level, everything is completely equal, which means all the so-called bad stuff that we would say operates in this world, whether that's war, whether that's violence, whether that's corrupt politicians, whether that's rapists, all of that stands in equal, not even judgment, but it's just equal to harmony and peace and being good and being thoughtful and being peaceful. It's all the same. Now, that doesn't mean that in the dual world it's the same because we know it's not. Like the spectrum of emotions, good emotions feel better than bad emotions. And we know this. So this is not about gaslighting yourself. Oh, everything's the same. It doesn't matter. Yada, yada. It's not about that, but it's about understanding when you yourself are on your own spiritual journey, what is your end game? Like, where are you trying to orient yourself? And I know for me, I was trying to orient myself into the deep truth. Like, I want to know what is the truth of my experience? What's underneath all of this? What's the totality of it? And I guess in that sense, I was lucky, but I still developed all my other skills. So there was something around the expansion of my dualistic experience. So diving into psychic abilities and having a look at channeling and getting in contact with my angelic spirit guides and all of this. First of all, it's a lot of fun. All right. So from that viewpoint, it's great entertainment. But there was also something in me that was always orienting me to almost like this little thing tapping that, okay, this is just entertainment. This is not really what you're looking for. And I think that made it that I was kind of lucky in that because I would go down into a thing, but then it would have the same feeling. And the main feeling that I get is, oh, there's something outward looking with this. So even when we're connected with our psychic abilities, so called, or looking at Akashic records, or looking at spirit guides, or doing guided visualizations and meditations, trying to put good thoughts, trying to feel more compassion, trying to feel more love, all this stuff, there is still this feeling of, as an observer, I am putting my energy outside of myself. I am reaching for something outside, maybe a higher power. And even when you say, "Oh, I'm looking for my higher self," that there's a seeking of something outside of what you are in this moment. So that seeking is duality, me and something else that I'm seeking, or me and some angelic wisdom that I'm seeking outside of myself. And even when it comes to that idea of psychic or intuitive wisdom, there's still something, even if you're in your body and you're thinking, okay, I'm in my body and I'm trying to get guidance. Guidance from what? Like for what? For it's like you're still trying to get some kind of direction into a future, thinking that it's going to orient you into a better version of yourself, i.e., what is happening right now, this present moment is not good enough. So that when you notice that you are in some kind of lack, or you are observing and there's a you and there's a something else that you're seeking for, that is all the world of duality. So it doesn't matter how awake you are to your psychic skills, you are still in the world of duality, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I honestly, as a human being, I so much more prefer feeling gratitude and love and compassion and peace. I definitely prefer that as a human to feeling anger, upset, rage, violence, disappointment. Of course, I totally prefer that. But that doesn't mean that I am blind to the fact that this is a human experience and around this, encompassing this, under this, over this, behind this, whatever you want to say, there is a whole other operating system. And my curiosity is that operating system. So my curiosity isn't on how I can contact my angelic team to tell me what to do next, yada, yada, even though that can be fun, but that is not my where I draw meaning from. Um, and so there's something around the clarity, I think, of what you are looking for that can be very helpful. Because in the spiritual world, language is very confusing because people are using the same language to mean completely different things. So the amount of times I hear someone say, I've had a spiritual awakening. And when I look at what they're talking about an intuitive awakening. So something in their mental arena has expanded. They've realized, oh my God, I'm not just my five senses. There is an intuitive or sixth sense that is also operating that allows me to expand my breadth of frequencies. Now, anything that is expanding your breadth of frequency is still dualistic because frequency is dualistic. So anything that is manifesting into a frequency is by its very definition in the dual world, it has manifested. And as soon as something has manifested, it's come into existence. So all of that by definition is still in the dualistic world. So there is a certain kind of technique to that, and there's a whole blah, blah, blah. But that is not what the non-dual community would call awakening. The non-dual definition of awakening is the realization that all is one. And the all is one includes everything. It includes all the so-called bad stuff as well, and it is equal. So there's no motivation or movement to make something better. So there's no thinking around this isn't good enough, or I'm not good enough, or I need to get better. I need to move into some kind of ill-defined future in order to be more complete and more one. You can't be more one. You're already, this is it. This is it. And I think if that is your ultimate resonance, like that's what I want, then all of this external seeking, you're kind of wasting your energy. I'm not saying don't do it. I do it because it's entertainment, right? What else are you going to do with 24 hours of your day? You can't sit there. Well, that's not true. Lots of people sit there and just do this kind of inquiry until they get it. That is not what's happening for me. I'm quite happy with my pace. Am I quite happy? I don't know. I don't even know if I have a choice around that, but it is my pace, shall we say, that I do often get kind of sidelined into these other little side entertainment projects. And I kind of love it for myself. And I kind of love observing the whole unfolding of it. And that is really the point. The point is every single thing that's happening to you is the thing that's happening to you. That is the thing to pay attention to. And that is the thing to not move away from. It's the thing to really just be completely non-resistant to. And that brings its own level of peace, no matter how challenging, no matter how challenging, its own completeness, its wholeness is the whole point. That's the whole thing. And when you really land into that, your human being can be having a complete panic attack and everything is exactly as it is. And there's just no problem with any of it. So yeah, I just wanted to bring some clarity or discernment around that and for you to contemplate that and see how you feel about it yourself and what is it that you are really after? Like what is it that you feel most resonant about? And there's no judgment either way. If you want to go off and contact your spirit guides, then why not? I mean, it's kind of fun and it's entertaining. So there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with anything. That's really the main point here, I guess. Whatever you feel resonant to, and there's no mistakes. It's impossible to make a mistake. And it's impossible to not be enough. And it's impossible to do anything wrong. How cool is that? All right, guys, take care. Thanks for listening. Bye.